Okay, so the first step to making gnocchi is to boil potatoes, and you want them fully cooked. And I've just left the peel on. When they are cooked, I will strip the peel off at that point. Okay, so the other job I plan to do today is to make a batch of meatballs and freeze them. I did buy 3 pounds of ground pork. I like to make my meatballs with pork, just because when I cook them up in a tomato sauce, it's just a really nice blend of meat and tomatoes for flavor. And I'm gonna put them in my mixer, and of course the mixer can't take the full 3 pounds with everything else, so I do them in two batches. And I'm beginning to think I should go back and get another huge batch of ground meat. It is one of the least expensive meals I can put together, and we may have to learn to do that. Okay, so approximately half, which is 1.5 pounds, going in my bowl. And I'm going to put this aside for the second batch. Wipe my hands so I don't get everything else dirty. Okay. Approximately a teaspoon of salt. You do want some salt in the meat. I always put a hair chunk of parsley. I just pour a handful. That's got to be quarter cup. Parsley's awesome. Okay. 1 egg. Now these are my extra large eggs. Okay, you really only want to put 1 egg so that you don't make it too moist. If you make it too moist, then you have to add more breadcrumbs. So, okay, I've got everything except my onion and breadcrumbs, and I've bought this little stir frit thing to chop onions. Never had one of these before. Have no idea how well they work. Can't say I'm pleased with the amount of pressure I had to put on there. Okay, for a plastic unit. But it did the trick. I think the next one I'm going to cut up a bit smaller. Okay, so I've got my onion, and let's see, perhaps a cup of breadcrumbs to start off with, and we will see how much more we need. So I'm going to just mix this all up. Just using my KitchenAid paddle. You certainly can do it by hand. I have no issue using my KitchenAid for this job. And that is far too moist. That's definitely a better consistency. It will hold together. So that's exactly what I'm looking for. Okay, so I'm going to empty this and put in the second batch. Okay, so this time I'm just going to use a baking tray with a sheet of parchment paper on to put them on to put in the freezer, form my balls, and lay them out to freeze. Once they're frozen, then we vacuum seal them. Now you can vacuum seal them in quantities that you're going to use them. I don't bother, I just do as many as I can in a bag and reseal the bag after I take out what I want. Okay, I have managed to fit them all on this tray. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times 6, 48, 53. So that's good for 5 to 6 meals. And these are going to go directly into the freezer. When they're frozen solid, then I will vacuum seal them. Okay, to make gnocchis, I use 2 basic tools. One is a potato ricer, and the other one is a gnocchi board, which just puts all the little grooves in the little dough balls. And you can do without both. I was raised making gnocchi with no special tools. So, pretty easy to use both. You can mash your potatoes and you could roll the little dough balls and create finger indents and that. Okay, I'm going to start off with my small potatoes. They were just 4 little small white potatoes. You can use any kind of potato you like, and perhaps around the same quantity here. Either 2 large russet potatoes would probably be about the same amount. Okay, and I'm going to, what I did was boil them, peel them. Actually, I ran them under cold water to cool them down after they were boiled. And I peeled them, and now I'm just going to run them through the potato ricer. And as I said, if you don't have a potato ricer, you can certainly just mash it. It has the same effect. Gnocchi are basically potato and flour dough balls, and that's it. So I don't add salt. We add salt when we're cooking it. Okay, I've got 2 cups of flour there, and I'm going to get 1 egg. Okay, and this is 1 extra large egg. That I'm going to add to the well here that I've created with the flour. And then I'm going to add the potatoes. Now I could put this all in the blender, and I may do so eventually, but right now I just want to mix it up and get a feel for the consistency here. And it does seem a bit on the dry side to me. Okay, I've prepped my KitchenAid mixer, and I'm going to put it all in there and use my dough hook, just because I don't feel like working this with my hands this time. Actually, I'm quite pleased with the consistency of this one. Seems to be just about right. So now all we want to do is cut it into little strips, and I'm going to spread flour all over my board. And we're going to cut it into chunks and then roll these into strips. And you want them about half an inch thick, maybe? Just long strips. And if you make it too thick, you just cut them shorter. Okay, and from here, we're just gonna cut them into little chunks. don't want them sticky at this point. And I'm going to use my gnocchi board, flour it up some so they don't stick to the board, and just roll them out. And this is the effect that you get. I don't know if you can focus. There it is. You can see the little ridges in that and the little indent on the other side. Okay, so I've cut a piece of parchment and I'm going to place them on this parchment so that I can put it in the freezer, and they can freeze up, and then once they're frozen up I will also vacuum seal them. And once again, in such a method that I can just take out what I want to use and reseal the bag. So this is not hard to do. It is manual work, but it's pretty simple to make gnocchi. Okay. And anything that's a little thicker, you cut it a little shorter, and anything that's thinner, you cut it a bit longer, and you'll pretty much have even-sized noodles. And I'm just laying the board on this cutting board just so you can see how I use it. Otherwise I'd just be holding it in my hand by that little handle there. Okay. Spreading these out on one layer. And if you didn't have the gnocchi board, you use the same motion. You're just not getting the ridges. Okay? Okay, let's keep going and cutting more. Actually, I think that measurement worked out great. So that was 2 cups of flour, 4 little potatoes, or 2 medium-sized ones, and 2 extra large eggs, and that worked out quite nicely. It is moist, but that's okay. You need to flour it in order to process this at this stage anyway. And you don't want them too dry. I'll tell you, when you boil these up, as soon as they float, and if that doesn't take any time at all, they are done. Homemade pasta always cooks up much faster than the dry store-bought. Well, and I believe some people just use them like this. I believe my daughter doesn't even roll them out anymore. But it all works. Okay. Almost there. Just so they don't get sticky on me, I'm just going to lightly sprinkle some flour on these. That'll do.